1993 AFL Premiership season.
And Hawthorn going on to kick 5 goals against the Breeze in the final quarter. Footscray only got one with it, and the Hawks convincing winners by 70 points. 8 to Dunstall, 4 to Hudson, and for the Doggies, 2 to Delray, 2 to Grant and 2 to Stanfield, 19,397 at the Western Oval. 3 other games played today as we check the final scores at Waverley, the closest match of the day. West Coast by 2 points over the Saints, Heady 3 and Wilson 2. Lockett got 5, 3 in the first quarter and Lowe 2. 19,918. Went to Waverley. At Princess Park, Carlton back on the winning list at the expense of Melbourne. Spalding got 4, Gleeson 3 in the Blues' 54-point win. And for Melbourne, Djakovic got 3, but Gilbert and the Brownlow medalist Jim Steins on report. And at the MCG this afternoon, the Swans' 24th consecutive loss. Hogg got 7 for Richmond and Richardson 6 as the Tigers won by 29 points. Strooper 4 and Hutton 3 for the Swannies. 17,781 at the G, and Werner reported by 2 umpires for allegedly striking Richmond's Brendan Gale in the first quarter.
Time now to check the CUB AFL 1993 Premiership season league ladder.
And with one match set down for tomorrow to complete the round, North Melbourne sitting comfortably at the top of the ladder with 32 points and a percentage of 136. And looking pretty good at the moment. Hawthorn has moved up to second. West Coast still third after their 2-point win today. Collingwood in 4th place from Essendon, and Fitzroy in the top 6. And going down, Geelong just outside also with 20 points. Footscray likewise from Carlton, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, St Kilda, Richmond and Sydney still on the bottom. So the season almost at the halfway mark and at a very interesting stage. Scott Palmer joins us after the break. More ways than one.
Yes, he's a hero, and he came out with some pretty strong comments about the racial taunts he got out there today, Pete, from the crowd. He said that some of the Magpie fans even told him to go and sniff some petrol. He said he was very pleased to see the Aboriginal flag flying in the North Cheer squad, and it really pumped him up. But he was very upset about some of the things that the Collingwood fans said, Pete.
Well, he's a great player, but Collingwood, of course, have a few problems. Monkhurst injured a knee.
Yes, he injured a knee. McGuan's got a groin. They're going to be a problem for state selectors. Lee said it's the most insipid performance he's seen from the Magpies since he's been coach. And he said he's got a new version of the John Kennedy version of, I usually don't say anything about umpires. Lee said, I definitely haven't got anything to say about umpires.
Well, speaking of coaches, how does Ken Sheldon look after today's 5th loss in a row?
Yeah, well, Travis Pay's commented on all these rumours concerning Sheldon today. He said the Saints needed continuity, and the board were right behind Kenny Sheldon and the coaching panel. Kenny Sheldon said today that the Saints were beaten in the critical parts of the game. And what about Stewie Lowe, who missed those kicks? Stewie said that the late one was a lay-down misère. 9 out of 10 times he could have got it during the practice matches.
What about Davey Park? And I guess he'd be breathing a little bit easier. 54-point win.
Yeah, well, Davey said that Stephen Kernahan took over most of the training. A lot of input by Kerners into the training sessions this week. He said that he was pleased Spalding and Alvin came through the fitness test this morning and were able to play. But Kernahan, of course, rolled his ankle and he'll be in doubt for the State of Origin team for South Australia.
I guess you'd have to feel a little bit sorry for Neil Baum. A win last week against the West Coast Eagles. Today, a completely different outlook, I guess. 54-point loss. And he's got Jimmy Steins on report.
And he got out of Princess Park real early today, too. No wonder. He's got Gary Lyon with a cork calf. He's got Glenn Malloy a hamstring, Martin Pike a shin, and he's got Steins and Gilbert on charges. So it wasn't a very good day for Big Neil.
Yes, and of course, I think Steins is still with that long record of consecutive games.
Let's hope he can keep it and play for Victoria.
Yes, that's right. Alan Joyce, pretty happy. It's always hard to win out at Footscray, isn't it?
Yes, he said he did a lot of homework on this. He even called in Darren Baxter for a tete-a-tete during the week to talk about the wind and the tricky conditions out there at work. He was very, very pleased. Terry Wheeler said that it's back to the drawing boards. He said, we're not going to throw the white flag in. He said, we've got a lot to give yet.
Scotty, another young Swan injured today, concussion.
The second week in a row, the Swans have had someone in the hospital with concussion. They had Osborne last week, and then young Scott Doreen was taken to St Vincent when he lapsed in and out of consciousness after the game today. So bad luck for the Swans. But Barassi said, well, I've only been there a month and things are starting to happen.
And I think Werner's on report from 2 umpires too, isn't he?
Yes, he is, yeah. But it was an eventful game, and I spoke suppose the Collingwood story is going to be the big one tomorrow, Pete.
It is, yes, and the state team training, of course, at 10 o'clock at the MCG. Scotty, keep punching.
Keep punching, Peter.
Good on you, mate. We'll see you there tomorrow. And, of course, don't forget one game to complete the round, and that's up at the Gabba tomorrow, Brisbane and Adelaide. So I hope you can join us on 7 Sport for that at 2 o'clock. And don't forget Sports World tomorrow morning with Bruce McAvaney at 9 o'clock. Hope your team won today. Join us tomorrow. Big Sport tomorrow.
The name of the game. It's the name of the game. Yeah. The name of the game is Australian.
Yes, welcome to the footy panel. Our special guest today is Richard Osborne, Bobby Davis, Bernie Quinlan, Ross Glendinning and also Ian Robertson. Welcome, gentlemen, and to you, Richard, who's, for people who've been watching earlier, summarised the State of Origin series coming up. Richard, we said earlier, it's great to see that you are well and coherent and able to talk and be a guest panellist. And, mate, show us the helmet that you might wear when you come back, because I know you've been trying a few this week on.
Yeah, that's the one. It's the exact one that my flatmate John Hutton wears. Bill, a guy who's been testing the helmet out at Footscray Institute, said that's probably the best one to use. So I'll be training it the next couple of weeks to get used to it for my first game back.
And the confidence, mate? I mean...
Not a problem. The next day I felt like nothing had happened, so obviously it looked pretty bad on television, but I've come out of it pretty good.
Well, that's great news, not only for all your fans and your family, fiancé, etc., but for Sydney Swan fans. As we go and have a look now at the winners and the margins over the round so far this weekend. And they are as follows. West Coast in the closest one on over St Kilda at Waverley Park. Essendon in a thriller on Friday night, a great match. Richmond by 29 over Sydney. Carlton by 54 yesterday at Princes Park. Hawthorn by 70 in a surprise at the Western Oval. And North Melbourne, well, this was a major surprise. 83 points over Collingwood at Victoria Park. As we take a look now at the ladder, and we see that Hawthorn is up 3 spots to 2, Collingwood down 2, Essendon up 2 to 5, Fitzroy down 2 to 6, and Geelong have gone up, even though they've got the bye 1, Footscray have gone down 2, and some other minor changes. Adelaide to play Brisbane today, and there could be a change here, particularly if Adelaide win, because their percentage is superior to Footscray's and could challenge Geelong. Here's Harvey and Wilden on Friday night.
Free kick. I don't think too much doubt about that.
Out towards the wing.
Oler and Shaw and Dunstan.
Could be 50. And Oler and Shaw in trouble there.
Down
A couple of young bombers, Mercury Masiti.
Mercury. Quick hand pass. Snapshot by Masiti. Here's a goal! 2 of the baby bombers combining.
Well, this bloke's not a baby.
Scoop it up. Hearn again. Flips it out. This time to Watson. Runs into goal and puts it through. The difference is 2 points.
If he is, he's the oldest baby in Australia. Here's the before the bounce, the brawl on the field at the North Melbourne Collingwood game. Frustrated Pies. Tony Shaw here with McAdam.
Now, we mentioned behind the play what Gafer has been doing, and the umpire had the courage to pay it, and a 50-metre penalty here.
The Pies in disarray. McGuan-McCarthy clash. McAdam.
Goal, Adrian McAdam, and he taps it through for his fourth. Wow.
3 goals later, he made it 8.
Oh, he's got it again. He's kicked 8.
And went on to get 9. There's Heaver Obst clashing. Now Grinter and Williams. What's this one? Jakovic. Bond and McRae at the MCG. This is young Doreen going down, and he had a similar fate to Richard last weekend. And this was the play of the day.
Terrific stuff. Ball handling brilliant. Shrugs the tackle with the left foot. Now that is play of the year.
Robbo, that is a mighty big call, but what a goal. Dunstall. We go out to Waverley Park. Bad bounce for the Saints coming up here as Wilson goes bang.
1-on-1 duel in the goal square. That's through.
Oh, if only Danny had touched it. Or if only Stewie had kicked this one.
The Saints alive in this season. They trail by 3 points. He's kicking from about 25 metres out, 45-degree angle. This is close. The goal umpire's gone a long way behind.
And he was spitting chips there, Stewie Lowe. The reports, a few of them, Steins, Gilbert, both out of the game at Princes Park, and Werner from the MCG. So one particularly big name there in Jim Steins. As we look at the interstate headlines, Eagles snatching it, and the surprise from Mickey Malthouse, he didn't know that Dean Kemp was in trouble, pulled out with a hamstring. Graham Corn says from the Sunday Mail today, Bears or bust. This is the top 6 for us. If the Crows can't win, they're out of business. And the Sunday Herald Sun talks about black power. Remember a few weeks ago when Nicky Winmar was instrumental and inspirational when the Saints won at Victoria Park. And yesterday, Adrian McAdam was in magnificent form. Wasn't he, Scotty Palmer?
He sure was, and it's caused a little bit of a controversy down there. Of course, he raised the racial taunts again, Bruce, but Collingwood saying, leave us out of it. We're not saying a thing. And that's the best way to treat it too.
Just wondering about that bone that was waved at Alan McAllister, whether or not it's taken a while to come. They've lost their last 2.
Yes, and they're not happy about it. They said that they were treated like rag dolls yesterday by North Melbourne. It's the worst defeat they've had since the prime years of Hawthorn, when Hawthorn used to bottle them up and sort of do that sort of thing to them. But yeah, not happy at all down at Collingwood. And their captain, Tony Shaw, is being manipulated on at the moment. His back's gone again. He rules himself out of the state squad for the entire series. So that's another blow to Collingwood.
Well, tell us about the State of Origin, because I know you've been down at training today.
Yes, it wasn't a pretty sight down there, Bruce. They were all sort of limping in and carrying crook legs and crook arms. But the big news down there is Lockett will have x-rays tomorrow on his wrist to determine whether he can play for Victoria. Now, I spoke to him. The big bloke said, I'll just have to wait and see. That's all he said.
Scotty, did he go off yesterday?
No, he played the whole game out, but he wasn't able to take the marks overhead towards the finish of the game. And he didn't sort of say about the injury until later in the game, and so he was hoping we could get through. But no. He'll have the x-rays tomorrow. The orthopaedic surgeon will have a look at it, Bruce.
Who else?
Well,
Lyon's
out. I walked through the tunnel with Gary Lyon today in the pitch dark. He's got a bad calf, and he won't be playing on Tuesday. McGuan won't be playing Tuesday, or either Andy Collins. So Teddy Whitten and the boys meet tonight at about 6 o'clock, and they'll name the side for Victoria at 9:30 tonight.
What about that big brawl at Victoria Park off the ground?
Well, 3 people in hospital. There have been 9 people. They used picket fences and stubby bottles and everything. The crime busters are wanting anyone who witnessed that event after that match, where there was a lot of animosity there, to give them a ring today and just see if they can get some evidence on it, because it was a nasty affair. A lot of blood spilt down there.
Robert Shaw was calling for Paul Broderick a couple of weeks ago. Dennis Pagan's calling for someone to come into the state team.
Well, he was in jubilation last night. All he could think about, he said, now tell the state selectors they're going to make a big blue if they don't put Andy Stevens in the side. He said he's been a fantastic player for us all year. I don't know how he's been overlooked. And he said it again this morning, Bruce.
And finally, Steins.
Steins, yes. Well, Melbourne, they're not sort of laughing about it, but they're giggling a little bit. They thought they saw a replay of the 1967 incident between Neville Crowe and Big John Nichols, where Neville went like that and Nichols went like that. You know what I mean?
I do know. It's a bit of deja vu, isn't it?
A little bit of deja vu.
Good on you, Scotty. Keep punching.
Good on you, mate.
Scotty Palmer. The panel after this, we go out to Victoria Park for Collingwood and North Melbourne. What a star he is, young McAdam. Ross Glendinning at Victoria Park yesterday. Well, we're talking about North Melbourne as premiership favourites this morning. He would have laughed if someone had said that to you 8 weeks ago, Roscoe. Is it premature?
I don't think so at all. I think perhaps North Melbourne were thinking that earlier, Bruce, anyway. I thought their form was just outstanding yesterday. I mean, they just manned up very well. Their picks on the Collingwood players were very, very good. And they just didn't really have a player who was a beaten player all day, whereas Collingwood perhaps only had a couple of players. I thought Christian broke even with Carey for the most of the game. And North winning without Carey having a great influence on the game, I thought was just a big bonus. And Johnny Longmire had a good game down there, but not a big contributor as well. And McAdam coming in with his 9 was just outstanding. To have those forward players, 4 in Roberts, Carey, Longmire and McAdam, kicking something like 140 goals for the year so far is just terrific. But the players like Swass, Stevens, those running type players have just been very good. Archer across halfback, Laidley, they all just do such a great job, and they just compete very hard. And in the packs where it gets tough, they really do some very, very good things. Their body work and their use of the football, more importantly when they get it, is very good.
Ross, Monkhorst, the injury to him, when did it occur? And did it have much influence on the game?
Well, he virtually only played the first half, Bernie, and then Rocker went into onto the ball, and I thought Rocker did a fair job actually. It's shown another dimension to his game. Monkhorst and Oshenko, I thought, really were breaking even, not doing much around the ground either. Monkhorst really has been great value around the ground, but he wasn't really an influence at all yesterday, Bernie.
Roscoe, without taking too much credit away from North Melbourne, what's happened to Collingwood in the last 2 weeks?
Well, I think their midfield drive, Robbo, was just shut right down, and without that, then their forwards weren't being fed. Rocker had very little influence in the game at full forward. Dacos couldn't get near it and was taken off. Centre half forward, they started with McCartney coming back in. He ended up playing at... he started centre half back, ended up at centre half forward. They didn't really have anyone to kick to. And then blokes like Rowe and a few others who have been good at scouting had no influence either.
Do you feel that, they were rocking along quite nicely, weren't they? Can an attitude problem fall in there somewhere along the line?
Well, it's
Can you relax a bit, do you think?
Well, perhaps you can, but they just had players who, perhaps coming back from injury, weren't quite sharp enough, and their running players, again, like they rely on McGuans, etc., so much, when they don't get their fair share of the footy, even a player like Russell, who had the ball something like 36 times yesterday, really got no effect for those disposals. So,
what about your votes, Ross? Where did you put McAdam?
Well, I actually gave him just the one because I thought all the heavy work was done up the field. He finished off very well, and of course, hard to leave him out. There's quite a few other players I'd like to put in. Stevens was just terrific on Mickey McGuan. It wasn't so much that he shut him down, but just some of the work he did off the footy. It's just, as Dennis Pagan's called for, I mean, he'd be very stiff not to get that state team. And Swash through the centre, well, he did what Russell didn't do in terms of getting the touches. He just used the ball beautifully and fed his forwards and worked extremely hard to complement that as well.
And a guest from the game is John Longmire, who played his 100th yesterday. And John, congratulations. You've got a big week coming up, not only with North Melbourne, but with New South Wales. And everybody wants to know how this turnaround's occurred. I mean, it's the biggest mystery in football for many years.
Yeah, it's very hard to put a finger on. I mean, I know our training's improved immensely, and I think that's probably been the biggest turnaround. We're starting to train with fewer mistakes and a lot more purpose in our training, and that's been have big results for the weekend anyway.
I just wondered, looking at the statistics, North Melbourne in fact had less touches yesterday than Collingwood, and they're averaging about 15 or 16 touches per goal this year, which is way under any other team in the competition. Has this been something that Dennis Pagan has worked on, that you have to be very direct, less handling of the footy and more results?
I think the less you handle the football, the less chance you've got of making mistakes. And with our forward set up at the moment, we've got probably a fairly big marking forward line, and the quicker we get it down there, the better for us forwards anyway.
Surely, Bruce, the impact of centre-half forward, John, the great teams of over the last 10 or 20 years, Royce Hart at Richmond, centre-half forward Brereton for Hawthorn. What impact has Carey got? His form is just absolutely incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, Wayne hasn't played a bad game this year. He's just been absolutely terrific for us, and he's taken 9 marks again yesterday, and he's been fantastic every game. He's taken the most marks in the league, and it's a very hard position to play, and he's been making it look relatively easy this year. That's been a big help to us.
An effervescent person, so it's infectious. Everybody rises around him.
Yeah, he's very confident. He's very sure about what he does, and that helps everyone around him.
John, we're having a quick chat before. Glenn Archer, Dennis Pagan's asked some big things of him this season. He plays very tall, as some coaches say, for a player of his height. Very strong and quick. Did a good job on Brown yesterday, didn't he?
Yeah, Archer's been one of our better players again this year. He's had some big jobs. He's had to pick up Modra over in Adelaide, and he's been given a big job every week in the back line, and he's responded very well, and his form this year has just been magnificent. He's just a great mark as well. And how have you handled this balance? Roscoe said a moment ago, 140 goals between 4 players. McAdam's come in. You're still doing very well with 37 goals, and Carey with 40. I mean, obviously he's not upsetting the team balance up forward, despite the fact we've got another guy in here who's a sharpshooter. Yeah, that's right. Adrian's fitted in very well. I think his biggest advantage is he's very smart and knows where to run and doesn't get in anybody's way, and so he's just fitted in perfectly to the side.
John, you had a bit of a rotation yesterday too, where you came to centre-half forward for a while, you dropped back, Wayne went to full forward, McAdam came out, Roberts was across the half forward, half back, so it works very well, doesn't it? I mean, you're not set in any position.
Yeah, we try not to get too stereotyped. We try to swap it around a bit, and that way give the Collingwood defenders a bit of a headache, and I think it worked pretty well that way yesterday. They had to swap their defenders a fair bit, and especially with Adrian in good form, it made them looking.
Johnny, your on-ballers are showing the way this year with Stevens, Rock, and Matty Larkin's form's been better also.
Yeah, they've been very good this year. That's probably been our biggest turnaround this year, has been the form of our on-ballers. They've been fantastic. Wayne Swass and Anthony Rock's been very hard the footy, and Anthony Stevens has just been magnificent every week, and I mean, he's doing a job. He's not only shutting down opposition players, they're gun players, but he's also getting a lot of kicks himself, and that's been a big help to us.
It must be a great help to those too, John, to have a Shenko, though, because a Shenko, I've even seen him marking over his head, which is probably gives you a surprise, does it?
No. He tells us he's quite a good mark, but no, his form has been great this year. He's been very consistent, and he's got a big job to do. He's probably our only ruckman at the moment, and he's doing it really well at the moment.
Has he picked up any pace, Johnny?
Oh, he's got a heap of pace rushing. Just ask him.
I think it's important to ask John, what sort of instructions. Like Dennis Pagan, is he a theorist, or does he allow you fellas to go and play the game, get the football, get it through the goals, get the result on the board?
I think Dennis's big word is probably to play the game with passion, and that's probably the biggest influence he's had on us this year. He's just tried to make sure that every time we go out on the ground every week, that all the players just try and play with a bit of passion, a bit of feeling, and I think that's helped us a lot with being hard at the ball and hard at the middle of the ball.
Fantastic.
Does passion mean enjoying the game, John?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Bob.
Yeah.
You enjoy your game and enjoy getting a kick.
Yeah.
Gee, it's a great philosophy, and aren't the fans enjoying it at the moment? John, don't go too far, because we've got interstate footy to talk about. We come back after this break. We've got plenty more footy coming up, including the marks.
State of Origin football. As hard as it gets.
Oh, that's superb, isn't it?
As tough as it gets.
Stuck it right up them.
Tuesday night, the Big V against New South Wales ACT. Sweet revenge.
Coming in as Longmire.
Wednesday night, the Croaters and the Sandgropers. The contenders. And Saturday, the State of Origin Grand Final. And we'll be there. State of Origin football. We invented it, we'll win it.
I had a little prang on the way to Mum's house, but GIO Australia looks after my car insurance, so I just rang their 24-hour helpline. They gave me free legal advice, sent the tow truck, recommended a repairer, and got me a free local taxi to where I was going in the first place. Why did I go with GIO Australia? To be really sure.
Give GIO Australia a call.
Are the kids awake?
Why?
Oh, I'm worried about them playing around the heater.
Oh, don't worry. It's a Dimplex heater. It's even got childproof locks.
Falls Creek is just like Switzerland. You can ski right from your chalet to lay lifts, to lay restaurants, to lay bars, and to lay night spots. Oh la la. Parlay about party animals.
Given up heaps of times. Been trying to give up smoking for ages. They got these free brochures, quick courses. It makes sense. Take it step by step.
I never thought I'd have the willpower to give up smoking.
Still won't be easy, but I reckon I can do it this time. They even got this free phone counselling.
It was just really helpful to have someone on the other end of the phone.
Call 131 848 now.
Even if you're not Rob DiCostello, if you're serious about fitness, you need the lasting energy of Kellogg's new calcium-enriched Sustain. The scientific balance of grains, fruits and nuts that's low in fat and salt. Even if you're not Steve McLeod, you need Sustain's protein, vitamins and fiber. Even if you're not Carissa Delwood, you need complex carbohydrates and controlled sugar, plus calcium for sustained muscle coordination. So even if you're not Steve McLeod,
or even if you are,
you need Kellogg's calcium-enriched Sustain, made for the Australian Institute of Sport to keep the energy in your day longer.
Carlton champ Steve Silvani hates everything in black and white. Just as well our shampoo comes in an all-black pack. Dimension 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner formulated for men for shiny, healthy hair. So get your hands on Dimension for Men.
Definitely gives you a big thrill when you run out in the ground with your jumper.
I was born in Wagga in New South Wales.
We've got to make sure that we beat New South Wales.
Of course we can win.
Couple of gods of the game there, Roos and Carey. As I look forward to State of Origin, we'll be talking about that in a moment. A special guest, bloke you've seen before here, Ron Barassi, will join us on that. Time now for Marks of the Week. Roscoe and Robbo to take a look.
The Mark of the Week and the Mark of the Year are proudly sponsored by Mitsubishi Motors.
First mark up is from last week, Barry Stoneham. Good use of the body here and control with left hand first and then right, bring it to his chest.
And from the game between West Coast and Melbourne, that's not a bad grab by Peter Sumich in the goal square.
Yesterday, Victoria Park, Wayne Swass running with the flight. Good clean grasp of the footy.
Now, Severio Rocca, I'm sure that we appreciate. He's got plenty of ability and he showed it there.
Yes, and Glenn Archer, confidence this last quarter, just over the pack. Good stuff.
And one of the most talented young players in the competition, Chris Grant. Real good, solid grab.
Robbo, you're well known for your aerial ability. Perhaps you can make the selection.
Well, I will, Ross, because we had a pretty good look at those, and although Severio Rocca's mark was quite good, I thought, and even Archer's was mentioned earlier, I thought Chris Grant coming late on the scene, crashing through the pack, one grab. You'll note that he takes this ball all the way through and holds onto it when he hits the ground. Very well done.
Good on you, Chris Grant. The mark of the week. We promised you, Ron Barassi. We promised you State of Origin. Ron, it's great to have you back. You're not sitting next to Bobby down the end there.
I'll tell you what, if Bobby had been in that marking segment, he would have chosen swash.
Whoa, easily, Ron, wouldn't he?
Degree of difficulty, Robbo.
Yeah.
What was wrong with the one he took? It was windy at Western Oval.
Oh, I see.
Ron, you are looking well, and you're in
Thank
here
you.
in your capacity as a selector for New South Wales, but before that, the experience in Sydney so far?
Oh, interesting. Interesting to add to life's experiences. No, the job in Sydney, as everyone knows, is going to be a long, hard job. But the guys are applying themselves manfully. I think we're undermanned a little bit. Doesn't help. As long as they have a go, then we're in respect to their opponent. That's the first thing, and we're getting towards that.
Just a personal thing, Richard's situation and incident last Sunday, it must be pretty hard as a coach looking on at something like that.
Yes, well, particularly when the stretcher comes out, then the ambulance, I mean, you start to think, wow, this is going to be very, very difficult for everyone concerned. Probably the last player to think of is Richard, because he's out to it. I mean, he's oblivious. You were just having a sleep, mate.
Couldn't remember anything, right?
No, of course you couldn't. And no, it was bad. I had one yesterday, which wasn't good either.
Is he right, the kid?
He's okay. He's exited from hospital and he's back home in Sydney now. So to his parents over in Tassie, I'd be thinking of how... But the club's been in contact with him. But two accidents like that in a row is not good.
Ron, I read that Alan Schwab said there are quite a few things away from the game itself that the Swans need. Do you see anything else that, apart from the medical facilities and that? Is there other things that you need?
Oh, lots of things, yeah. Lots of things that most clubs have that Sydney
that are
haven't
just
got.
standard.
Yeah, it's been run on the smell of an oil rag in the last year or so because the owners, understandably, having tipped in millions and millions and saved the club from extinction for those who are thinking the wrong thing, they probably try not to lose any more. So it has been run down to an equipment, from an equipment point of view, yeah.
And the boy Neil from Canberra, not going to be like Johnny Longmire and get to escape you, is he, Ron?
No, he's not.
Isn't he?
No,
You've been to see him personally, Ron?
I have seen him. I've seen him train, and we've been in contact, I wouldn't say constantly, but close to it.
Let's talk State of Origin footy, because that's what's happening this week, and it's a very important week for the game and for the concept of the State of Origin footy. I mean, you're now as a New South Wales selector, they look on paper to have a decent chance on Tuesday night.
Well, if you look through the names in the past 5 years and the teams that you can get from those names, I mean, very good teams.
And this bloke, John Longmire, was a big part of that win 2 or 3 years ago in Sydney.
Yes, well, I was
Much
happy with him that night, but on Tuesday I would be very happy if a repeat performance came with it. But with Carey in such good form and Johnny up front, and you've got all these other players, I mean, it's going to be a good side. And Ted will be shaking in his boots, little Teddy.
What contribution are you having?
I'm just a selector.
So you're...
a selector.
As in 3 weeks in Sydney, it's very difficult for you to have been able to assess. You've got to look at all these players that have been playing in Melbourne mainly. Are there many Sydney Swans players going to be in the team, do you think?
Has Ted asked you to give these questions?
No. Well, you've only been there for 3 weeks.
Yeah,
so from a Sydney Swans point of view, you've got to look at it more from a Victorian selector, having looked at a lot of football in Melbourne, say.
No, there won't be too many Swans in the side, unfortunately. But, we're picking for New South Wales, and the ACT, of course, is in with us this time. We've looked at a new rule too about McAdam from Knockwood, but his brother, his goal-kicking brother, who could be Teddy. You better watch out there.
Why, because he played in Alice?
That's all I'm saying.
Ron, Terry Danaher, enjoying the coaching role?
Yeah, Terry, because a coach is always interested in hearing other coaches and how he goes about it. And I was only present at one meeting where we had a dinner, and Terry spoke, and he was exactly as you would think. Good on your mate. There were a few mates thrown in there. He's just fantastic. A legend, that fellow.
It doesn't look a bad side, Ron, with Johnny Longmire, full forward, Wayne Carey, centre-half forward, Glenn Coleman in the ruck.
You haven't changed.
Strong side, Ron.
No, it is quite a good side.
What about your feelings, John? Because New South Wales doesn't have a great tradition in football, and yet you're representing that state on Tuesday night. Your feelings about that, personally?
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite immensely. We're starting to build up a bit of a tradition. I played my first game for New South Wales back in 1988, so we've played 3 or 4 games together now, and there's a few of us that have been there along the journey, like Bernard Toohey and a few of us, so we're starting to build up a bit of a tradition, a bit of feeling there, which should help us on Tuesday. And
Ross, in your role as a major part of the Western Australian team, what's their situation?
Well, we had a meeting this morning, Bruce, McMulgre's with the players based here, the expatriates in Western Australia, and also Scott Waters, who was down here from Sydney, and just told them what we expect, and that most will be involved in the game on Wednesday, I should say, but we won't be able to announce the team until Monday night.
And Victorians trained this morning, I know, and we were out there and had a look at their training. They've got a number of injuries, as we've already been told by Scotty Palmer this morning. And I think Gerard Healy can join us now from Brisbane. Gerard, you listening in?
I am, Bruce, yes.
We've got vision now of the Victorians. We've got Hannah and also Ruse there, but there are a few injury problems, Gerard. But are you pretty happy with the way the Victorians are shaping up?
Oh, the attitude of the Victorian players has been fantastic, Bruce, and it really does annoy the players, I believe, when journalists keep asking them, are they taking these games seriously? This is a major part of a player's career, representing his state, and good performances in state football are part and parcel of being a good player.
And do you expect extra pressure, mate, because Victoria are expected to win? I mean, if New South Wales knock you off on Tuesday night, it'll be, well, a disgraceful result, really, from Victorians' point of view.
Well, any loss is a disgraceful result from a Victorian point of view. We always go in as favourites, and often I don't believe that should be the case, particularly when we're playing South Australia in South Australia. But New South Wales, they'll have a very good side. They'll be G'd up by their coach. Their spirit will be fantastic, and if we can match them in that area, then I think we can have a pretty good competitive side.
Can I throw one in for an old mate of ours? What would happen if you copped a couple of injuries? Would Timmy Watson have any chance of playing in the pocket in the final for Victoria?
Everybody's available until the Tuesday night, Bruce.
Spoken like a selector. Fair enough. Would you give Watson a chance, Ron?
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay, Ron and John, good luck. Oh, fancy saying good luck to Barras about New South Wales. It's awful.
He's the man who's going to do it.
All right, we'll see. He could do it too. He's in great form with Kerry up in front of him. You were out at Waverley Park, mate, yesterday. I'm talking to Gerard Healy, who's in Brisbane today. I know they lost, but could it be a turning point for the Saints? Their form appeared to be better.
Oh, good signs for St Kilda yesterday. It was a real struggle at Waverley Park yesterday, Bruce, and unfortunately one side had to lose, and that was St Kilda by 2 points. And Rip, they were very evenly matched, the two sides, and it was probably just St Kilda's lack of finishing that cost them the game. They made some pretty ordinary mistakes in the last quarter, and I'm not just referring to Stuart Lowe's shot at goal. There were a number of other mistakes, particularly through midfield, that cost the Saints, but full credit to both sides. It was a last man standing affair. They put their bodies on the line. They went in search of some good form that has eluded both of these clubs, and you know, it was a great game to be at, even though many people thought it was a shocker. It was there was no skill there as far as ball skills, but it was just body on body, player against player, searching for that win.
Gerard, Chris Lewis last week has started okay, then faded. His second half apparently was pretty reasonable yesterday.
Yeah, there were a number of good signs for the Eagles, I thought, Ross, and Chris Lewis's form was particularly good. Some real flashes of brilliance, as was Brett Heady, and they were the two players that got the Eagles going after half-time. Before half-time, they were a little bit lamentable, I thought, and it was those two players that sparked the Eagles' run and carried on in the last quarter.
Give us your votes, Gerard.
Well, I gave 3 votes to a player who's fairly well underrated. He very rarely gets a mention, Guy McKenna. He's just a consummate professional across half-back. Danny Frawley, a great battle with Sumich. And Sumich is a bit of a worry for the Eagles, but Frawley was terrific yesterday. And another unheralded player, Justin Peckett, out of the back pocket, a player whose career almost finished before it started, and he has been a surprise packet for the Saints this year.
And you have some news on the Brisbane team today?
Yes, Ashley Green has come into the side, and he's replaced Richard Champion, which is a bit of a blow for the Bears. He didn't get through a fitness test with a strained thigh on Thursday night.
Thanks for that, Jared. Looking forward to the call. Good luck with Victoria's team this week.
Thanks, Bruce.
Jared Healy. And just very quickly, Ross, would you play both Djakovic and Sumich from a Western Australian point of view in the one
if
team?
If Sumich comes up all right, Bruce, I certainly would consider that we could work the two in the team together, even if one started as one of the four on the bench, but just as an alternative, I think that could work okay.
Is Bairstow likely to be captain?
No, John Worsfold captain, Bairstow vice-captain, Bob.
Thanks for that. And Ron, once again, and John, thank you very much and good luck. It's going to be a great week of football. Ron Barassi and John Longmire. A break. Back with more on the footy panel after this.
I had a little prang on the way to Mum's house, but GIO Australia looks after my car insurance, so I just rang their 24-hour helpline. They gave me free legal advice, sent the tow truck, recommended a repairer, and got me a free local taxi to where I was going in the first place. Why did I go with GIO Australia? To be really sure.
Give GIO Australia a call.
The three of us.
With the power of a V6 24-valve engine, ABS brakes, and four-wheel multi-link suspension, a world first in its class. The new Mitsubishi Galant is every bit a driver's car. But then, it does come from a very good family.
At last, a massive breakthrough in power sanding technology. Patented and built in Germany, Sanderflex is engineered with a flexible shaft that ensures smooth, effortless sanding. Slippery sanders can be positively dangerous, but Sanderflex just can't get away. Sand down walls, doors, in fact, any flat surface, just like an expert. Tighten this control for professional results on round corners, or this valuable chair. These specially designed pads attach with Velcro. Seconds to put on, but come off only when you want. Outlast ordinary pads by 100 times, or we'll replace them free of charge. Nail-infested timber is no match for Sanderflex. It'll even remove rust. Even cleaning is amazing. Watch. We'll even include this genuine lamb's wool buffer. Clean windows or polish the car for an effortless mirror finish. Plus this patented clever clamp. Fitting most drills, you move it every which way to sharpen lawnmower blades. Scissors. Your favourite knife. Or an axe. Even this steel file won't damage our super pads. Use Sanderflex for grinding, polishing, derusting, sanding or sharpening. It's an entire system for just $49.95. Ring now, but don't send any money. That's right, do not send any money. We'll bill you. Ring 008 023 025. Want more? How about this handy power pump? Empty fish tanks, drains, washing machines, blocked sinks. Use it to empty sumps, waterbeds, on the boat. You'll wonder how you ever did without Power Pump. And it's yours for just $2 with Sanderflex, 4 super tough pads, lamb's wool polisher, plus the clever clamp. An entire tool shop for just $49.95. Together with the Power Pump for just $2 extra. Ring now. But don't send any money. That's right, do not send any money. We'll bill you. Ring 008 023 025.
Factoid, a word that Bobby Davis is familiar with as he takes a look now at the goals of the round with Bernie.
The goal of the week and the goal of the year are proudly sponsored by BP.
Well, the first one we're looking at is Robert Scott. Last week's game against Sydney at the Sydney Cricket Ground. He spun out of there nicely. About 25 metres out. Quite a clever goal there from Robert Scott.
Jakovic on the lead. They'll look for him early.
Bobby, you're
Jakovic, yes, I'm just waiting for him to take the ball, actually, so to see the angle, but it is, as Ron said, a magnificent angle.
I thought I'd have waked you up there, Bob.
No, I was waiting for him to grab it.
Ricky Oliver and Shaw from Friday night's game against Fitzroy. A clever snap there in a pack of players.
And here we go. Look, Timmy with a magnificent one going straight. Look, what's happened to his hair?
He played all right, Timmy, didn't he? John McCarthy in this last quarter against Essendon. He's a very good player, John McCarthy. He goes out of the game for long periods, but around the body there from about 50 metres out, he kicked 2 good goals in that last quarter.
Oh, and here's the champ coming, just like Bernie Quinlan. Look, keeping it in front of him, looking left, right to see who's around. Coming around on the left foot, his non-preferred foot, swings it there and straight through the centre.
Oh, great goal, wasn't it, Bob?
Yes, a great goal, Bernard. Which one did you like the best?
Well, there wasn't too much problem picking that, was it, Bob? I think we had the goal from Jason Dunstall there at the Western Oval yesterday, the way he got onto his left boot. A couple of the Footscray players, they didn't worry about the ball there. Peter Foster was worried about the body, so was Dougie Hawkins. Jason Dunstall just kept playing the ball in front of him. It was pretty windy there. You can see where he takes the ball onto his left foot from about 45 metres out. He put it up in the air and the wind did the rest there. It was a terrific goal from Jason Dunstall. His 8-goal performance yesterday at the Western Oval. Well done, Jason.
Yes, I wonder where Robbo will fit him into the votes. Dunstall yesterday. Ablett and Modra lead the goal kickers with 52. Dunstall 51, Carey 40. And 2 of their greatest recruits, Dunstall and Platten, were in terrific form. Robbo, Hawthorn can set themselves. They beat Adelaide in Adelaide after the bye, and they did a tough job at Western Oval, because I guess Football Park in Adelaide and the Western Oval here in Victoria are 2 of the biggest assignments in the AFL.
Yes, it's interesting, Bruce. I walked to the ground with Ken Greenwood, who played a lot of games with Footscray, and he said that a lot of teams go out there with trepidation, especially when there's a little bit of breeze. But Hawthorn did it extremely well. They were well served by Platten, who played a terrific game. His second quarter was absolutely sensational. That young man there, Crawford, did quite well, had something like 25 or 26 possessions. Darren Jarman played a good role in this win. He hunted across half-back line. Gary Ayres was just in the picture there. I'm a bit concerned about him, captain of the team. He spent about 3 quarters on the bench. And from a Footscray point of view, as well as they played against Essendon about 4 or 5 weeks ago, they played just as poorly yesterday. They had Stanfield did very well in the first quarter, but apart from he and maybe Mark Hunter, I thought Hunter did a pretty good job. Paul Hudson kicked 3 goals in the first quarter, and then Hunter held him to just 1 for the rest of the game. But Footscray would be searching, I think, for answers. Just the fact that they only managed about 8 or 9 goals for a game of football would be a very concerning thing for
They would be searching for Simon Atkins, wouldn't they?
Well, I thought Baxter, Darren Baxter went out there with a mission. I mean, I guess he would have been a very disappointed person when he was put off Footscray's list over the summer. And he went out there quite a determined man. He picked up Simon Atkins and made Simon Atkins an ineffective player.
Robbo, what about Doug Hawkins? He was there coming through across Dunstall, play a spare man in defence, or where did he play the game?
Well, he plays roving across that half-back line. I guess his position is half-back flank, Ross, but it just came down with a lot of speed. And Dunstall, I mean, his performance, he kicked 7 goals straight. Their defence was ineffective, Footscray. You know, they were under a lot of pressure. They were only a couple of goals behind at half-time, and in the first 10 or 12 minutes of the third quarter, it was when Hawthorn shut them right out. They kicked about 4 goals and it was all over.
Robbo, you mentioned Gary Ayres, but also Paul Deere. He was taken from the ground, he was back on the ground, he was taken from the ground again. Now, since he's won the Norm Smith medal, he hasn't been able to recapture that sort of form that he had in 1991. Now, they got problems with those 2 players long term with Deere and Ayres. Do you think they're just about, on the skids, those 2?
Well, I think I mentioned about Gary Ayres. It's a bit unfortunate. He's always lacked a little bit of pace over the ground. He's been able to read the play pretty well. I think Paul Deere's still got some sort of a role to play at Hawthorn. We've still got to suffer perhaps a little bit of dirty weather where the grounds are going to get a bit heavy, and I think both of those players are certainly going to be of some value for Hawthorn. In yesterday's conditions, they needed those fleet-of-foot players, and Alan Joyce elected to keep both of those players mostly on the interchange bench.
Give us your votes, Rob.
The votes, yes, I thought Platten stood out, Bruce. His second quarter, I mentioned, was absolutely fantastic. He kicked a couple of goals. Ben Allen was terrific again. He's a best and fairest winner at Hawthorn, and you could see why yesterday. And Dunstall, it's a bit unfortunate. I suppose they should have got 2 each, but anyway, Dunstall got 1.
Bernie, do we look... the game on Friday night was tremendous. Were we looking at two teams that will play a role in the finals this year, or two teams that are just going to upset others on their way to the finals?
No, I think they're both genuine contenders, Bruce. There's no doubt about that. And 50,000 people turned up on Friday night to have a look at these two sides. Fitzroy started brilliantly in that first quarter with, well, the surprise packet, I suppose. Big James Manson in the ruck. He had about 6 marks in that first quarter. Dominated proceedings against Alessio. He was in everything. Absolutely brilliant. They got the ball onto the forward line where Lynch, who started at full forward, marked everything. He didn't kick as well as he did the previous week against Collingwood, but Alistair Lynch, he is an unbelievably good player for Fitzroy. A terrific player, whether at full back, full forward, centre half forward, in the ruck. They throw him everywhere where there's a problem. And also Darren Wheeldon was very good. He marked, I think, about 14 times probably on Friday night. He was
fantastic.
terrific.
He really was.
Bernie, the fact that they did play well, Wheeldon and Lynch, but they did, 2 of them, missed easy goals in the early part of the game. Now, you can assert your superiority over the opposition if you can nail them early. There were a couple of bad mistakes they made.
Definitely, because they did mark everything. Lynch had, I think they kicked 3 behinds before they kicked a goal. And had they been 6 or 7 up at quarter time, it might have been a different story. But to Essendon's credit, they did fight back well in that second half. Tim Watson went to the forward line, kicked 4 goals. Paul Salmon kicked 4 goals in that second half. And the experienced players really took over.
Bernie, would you think that Essendon are a little lucky to win, considering they probably played about a good 30 minutes of football overall?
Well, half-time, Ross, are only 23 points down. So, you know, that's not a big margin in any football, especially modern-day football with the running play that Essendon are capable of producing. But the second half, they really dominated proceedings. They got their running players going. They were very good. Michael Long went to half-back, and it was good to see Michael Long burst out from half-back. He did give them a spark, and he kicked long for a change, instead of those silly little short passes he sometimes tries to do.
Bernie, give us those votes, mate.
OK, Bruce, I went for Alistair Lynch, and he's definitely the key Fitzroy player at the moment. He's taken over the role from Paul Roos. I gave him 3 votes. Buick provides a lot of spark, a couple of handy goals there when they were needed. And I gave Doc Wheeldon 1 for his 14 marks. He absolutely cut up Mark Harvey. He had 3 opponents for the night. He'd let himself down with his kicking for goal, but when he's in form, Doc Wheeldon, he's a very exciting player to watch.
Bernie giving Fitzroy 4 of the 6 votes. Essendon winning the game. We take a break. Back with more after this.
They had nothing, but they were willing to risk it all. Tonight,
hi, I've come about the audition.
Experience the energy.
Look at that!
The passion.
Let's keep relations on a professional basis.
The electrifying music. And the out-of-control fun.
I'm black and I'm proud.
For the first time on television, one of the top box office sensations of the 90s.
I think I'm getting the hang of this.
Justine's presents The Commitments tonight on 7.
Gotta get the wheels in motion.
At your local BP shop, you'll find just about everything you need. So get your wheels in motion and get on down to BP on the double. Because right now, buy 2 of any product and you could win one of 800 fantastic mountain bikes. There'll be a winner at every BP shop. BP, on the move.
It's almost time to get up. It'd be nice if you turned the heater on for me.
Don't worry, it's a Dimplex heater. It's turned itself on half an hour ago.
Let's go skiing.
Hey, everybody. McDonald's $4 dinner deal's on after 5.
Wow, I'll impress my girlfriend.
Of course, with a Big Mac, French fries, Coke, and dessert.
And dessert!
Apple pie or sundae. I can take the family.
And my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's outstanding value. All for $4. Sing it, Mac.
Snack time.
For the $4 dinner deal after 5.
that's cool. 28 mega hits. John Paul Young, Annie Lennox, Elton John and Eric Clapton, Heavy D and the Boys, Tony Childs, Ugly Kid Joe. 28 of the 90s hottest cuts. Here's Hammer.
Can't touch this.
Now that's cool.
Look, man.
It all took place so quick, but all I can do is hand it to you and your latest trick.
Special request, Mark Knopfler's Bobby Davis's all-time favourite, isn't he, Bob?
Oh, marvellous.
Mark
Knopfler, Bob.
Now, Bob.
Mark Knopfler's he one of the lead singer in one of those wild groups, is he?
It's called Dire Straits. Bobby, we're in dire straits with time at the moment.
I'll say, and the Fuchsias are in dire states too. Who? The Fuchsias. They played like wilted ones yesterday.
Melbourne?
Melbourne, huh?
Now, what about Carlton's credibility from the finals point of view?
Well, yesterday they attacked Djakovic just at the start, 3 of them, and at least it looked as though they were having a go, and one of their own player, the Demons, got in and kicked a goal. But really, yesterday they had some marvellous players. There's Djakovic getting one of his 3 kicks for the day. Here's Hannah, who played extremely well on the half-back line for them.
Did Djakovic keep his cool yesterday, Bob?
Well, I didn't know if he did it as an acting thing, but he stood up and I thought he was Lester Ellis at one stage with Stephen Silvani, but look, there was really nothing to talk about with the game because Carlton just dominated the whole series, especially after Lyon went off.
Bob Kernahan's injury looked bad?
Well, he's not kicking the ball. Well, I don't know if he had an injury before he started, but he's only kicking the ball 20 yards.
Roscoe's thinking from a Western Australian point of view on Tuesday night.
Oh, well,
Wednesday night.
If he marked very well early, but then I don't think he was right at the, when he started the game, to be truthful, because he's not kicking the ball any distance, Ross, so keep the backman in front if they drop short.
Bob, it's amazing. Melbourne beat West Coast last Sunday.
I can't understand
and then a week
that.
later, they put in such a lamentable performance.
Well, I think that Lyons going off made a big difference, and they were small.
He's an important player,
yes,
Gary Lyon,
and I think Gilbert, they looked too small yesterday and looked very inept.
What about Greg Williams? How did he play, Bob, as we look at your votes?
Greg Williams, when they don't tag him, isn't it a miracle to see him play? He is the best kick of the ball and the best weighted handball right to the centimetre that I've seen in years.
Apart from Gary Ablett.
Well, Gary Ablett doesn't do that.
Give us your votes, Bob.
I'm said in the kicking department, Robbo. The votes. I've only got 5 seconds. Spalding 1, Dean 2 and Greg Williams 3.
Just wonder how much Richard Osborne was missed yesterday at the MCG. Richard, what would you think?
Oh, it's hard to say, but it was a good game yesterday, actually. I think the problem with us, we've been jumped the last couple of weeks in the first quarter. With Geelong, we outscored them after quarter time. And again, with Richmond, the difference being the first quarter and a bit. The guys, I think, that played quite well for Richmond, there was a kid 18 years of age, Matthew Richardson. I'd never heard of the guy, but he played like a 30-year-old, a veteran. He dominated, took 14 marks, kicked 6 goals, I think. I gave him the 3 votes. Lambert was a player that, you talk about Greg Williams and his hands, I think Lambert's probably not too far away with his handball. He is absolutely brilliant. Brendan Gale, when the game was there to be won, Brendan Gale took about 14 marks and he was probably the difference in the early stages.
What about Matthew Knights, who I consider to be a bit of a dark horse for the Brownlow this year? Gets a lot of free kicks. He's a great player, isn't he?
Most definitely. Early in the game I had Matthew as their best player, but he started to fade out towards the end, but he is a very good player.
Richard, who lined up on the Gale at St Would Basie play on Gale?
Basie started off on him, but he had a few opponents. He was just too strong.
He's been in fair form, Gale.
He takes a good mark, yeah.
I was going to ask about Mark Basie. Richard, his form's been pretty ordinary the last couple of weeks up at the Gabba. He was terrible against the Brisbane Bears, and he had about 5 kicks last week against Geelong. Now, Sydney really needs him to have a little bit more stamp his class on the game. Was he any better yesterday?
Yeah, I think Basie wasn't too bad last week. Unfortunately, he's been carrying a few injuries. So
you can't remember last week. I'm talking about this one.
He wasn't too bad yesterday. As I was saying, he is carrying a few injuries, so it does make it a bit hard, Bernie.
Thanks for that, Richard, and for filling in as we look at last week's votes. Bernie was at the Sydney Cricket Ground. He gave 3 Sydney players the votes against Geelong. Kelly, McRae and Dunkley, 3, 2 and 1. And Gerard, for Melbourne and West Coast, went Lyons, Steins and Viney. Melbourne winning that game. As we look at the progressive, Greg Williams is leading with 14. from Wayne Schwass, who both had big matches yesterday, and Kennedy. Bernie, I've got to ask you, only one Sydney player had received a vote before last Sunday. That was Kelly in round 2. How can a team get beaten and get all the votes?
Well, after quarter time, they were the dominant side, Bruce. I looked for Geelong players that I could have given votes. I considered Ablett. He kicked 5 goals in that first quarter. He didn't get a touch for the next 2 quarters. He kicked another 2 goals in the last quarter. And I gave the players that I considered to be real goers, and they were all the Sydney Swans players after the quarter time break. So that's how I justify it, Bruce.
We're at enough strife as it is, Bernie. Geelong supporters will be on the phone now.
I couldn't find a good Geelong player after quarter time.
I think you're a good judge too, Bernie.
Well, fair enough. Richard, thank you once again, and thank you to the footy panel. We take a break.